So I'm wondering if you've heard of this concept. It's fairly simple and it's basically called connection before correction. Let's say you're with your child, could be any age, you could be with your partner, or even just somebody that you're struggling with. And your instinct in a moment of high stress is to criticize or to correct somebody, which puts people on the defensive. This idea of connection basically is a way to kind of co-regulate or settle down somebody's emotions, so that you can have a productive conversation. And one way that I like to kind of explain this, especially with parents, and with kids, is something called the hand model. And it was developed by a man named Dan Siegel. And basically, the idea is that you use your hand as a metaphor for the brain. And so your wrist is the brain stem, your thumb is the limbic system, which includes the amygdala, and then your fingers are the prefrontal cortex. So the amygdala and the limbic system, that is where sort of survival instincts, fight, flight, emotion, all of those things kind of live. And then over top, we have our thinking brain, which is really like problem solving, self-control, being able to regulate, all of that kind of thing. And when we feel stressed, if we're feeling under pressure, our limbic system, our amygdala, tends to react because it is there to protect us and it is there to act in some way of fight or flight or survival. So when your amygdala reacts, the thinking part of your brain goes offline. Dan Siegel calls this flipping your lid. Okay. And what connection does in that moment is it can settle your amygdala back down again. Because often what happens, and it's super frustrating if you're with your child or you're with your partner, is you know that people know their strategies. You know that they've learned something that works for them in a moment of stress, and they just can't access it. And they can't access it because their thinking brain is offline. And so when you make that connection and somebody feels emotionally safe again, you make that connection before the correction, you're more likely to be able to have somebody use their whole brain and use all of those problem solving strategies that they've worked so hard to learn. So the idea at the end here being that you want to come back online. You want the thinking part of your brain to come back online, and self-regulation is the process for that. So people can do that on their own through breathing exercises, through grounding, or we can do it with somebody else. And often for youth or for people that are really dysregulated, that is where that connection comes in, is somebody else helping you to co-regulate, to bring your thinking brain back online.